at your next meeting.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, anything else for the city manager?
I do have a question, sorry. You had mentioned the medical director. How is that going to affect future revenues if we don't have a medical director? Is that a condition of participation into Medicaid? You know, Medicaid is our biggest.
I don't know if it's a participation, and what I think it is for the records exchange with the medical director over, that individual serves technically over the NVAD, whether it's through the hospital or we've got a call into the state right now. If we can't come up with a solution, then, we'll be cutting a check to the hospital for $1,500 this week to pay for their medical director, which they've offered us.
Okay.
Because the ambulance, there are times that the position of medical director has been vacant at the hospital. And, apparently the state has covered us.
So I was just concerned about the revenue that we would receive if we didn't have the medical director. Would it impact our revenue coming in for those calls between when we don't have a medical director as well?
No, it should not. I
Okay.
mean, the big impact is the hospital is no longer providing any subsidy.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Save? Councilman Topcock, sorry, council member.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to citizens' comments. Are there those that would like to address the council?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to give a brief update on the status of the finance department if I could.
Okay. Back to city manager's report. I guess that's where we were at.
I know my vacancies have been a topic of interest at the last few council meetings, so I wanted to take a moment to explain why I've decided to hold off filling our vacant payroll position. Right now, my assistant finance director, Peter Lay, is absorbing payroll duties. Peter has made our payroll processes more efficient by utilizing the electronic timesheet function provided by our accounting software in Cassell. So we have transitioned admin, finance, the city clerk's office, police, fire, and ambulance, museum, library, and port offices over to online timekeeping. We have just a few departments to still migrate. In the fall, I hired Walter Bell as our accounting clerk. Walter is in the new shared position created to provide support to various departments in City Hall. And having Walter in the finance office in the afternoons has been extremely helpful while we've been trying to fill our vacant positions. I'd like to see Walter continue to learn and gain some experience in finance. And then last month, I hired Jovan Dull to be our full-time accounting tech 2 and accounts payable. And Jovan has previous experience in both AP and payroll and is doing fantastic work. So I'm planning to take a pause in hiring. Finance is preparing to complete cross-training, where Jovan will be learning the city's payroll processes and Walter will be learning accounts payable. And this time will also allow me to do a needs assessment in finance, as there are areas that need more attention. We need to look at what those areas are and how best to fill the gaps. So I just wanted to let you know kind of the plan here for the next couple months.
Great, thank you. All right, going once. Citizens' comments. Another call. Saying, okay, so we'll move on. Mr. Clerk, would you call the roll for council member comments?
Councilmember Pistoia.
I was just looking at our all the commissions that we have and looking at, I think there is one vacancy on the public planning, no, not the Public Safety Advisory Commission, correct? Can we get, I guess, how long has that been open? Because I'm wondering if it is in the council's interest to amend our ordinance to have the common council appoint someone within a certain time frame if the mayor chooses not to do so.
It isn't that I choose not to do so. I have contacted several people who have declined on the thing, and I'm still actively looking at that and a couple of other commissions as well.
And what other commissions currently have vacant openings?
The Library and Museum Commission, we're going to that.
Okay. But I do have a request out. If it's not filled within so many days, is it in the interest of the common council to appoint someone?
Well, you need to change at least the ordinance and then potentially, I don't know what the state, because I believe it's Title 29 that gives that to the mayor. So, anyway, I have been working on the Planning Commission, which I just recently filled both positions, and moving on to the next ones. So,
Thank you. That's it.
Councilmember Topcock,
No comments, thanks.
Councilmember Miller.
Where are we at with getting a strategic plan for the city?
You know, we are nowhere. There is, if we want to develop a strategic plan, which has been talked about utilizing the comprehensive plan, that's going to be about $125,000 to do. Now, there's going to be included in the budget proposal this year is getting a comprehensive plan together. There's no grant money for us for a comprehensive plan. We've been looking for it. I've asked the planner to look for it. There's, unfortunately. I wish I had a better answer for you.
I also understand that the state has pulled funding that would otherwise fund some of the LEPC plan reviews and development, but
Well, we are applying for a hazard mitigation plan for up to $50,000. That money is out right now, so we do have an application ready to go in. There is no money for an emergency operation plan. The staff, it was tried to be done here locally, but there were some gaping holes in it from cybersecurity because it was never addressed in one of the original plans. It just was not language changed or numbers changed, and I forget what the other major issue is. Now, I can bring it to the council and you can pass it, but I wouldn't recommend you to pass it without addressing some of these major security issues that we're facing now. I know that doesn't make some people happy, but, we're trying to put money in, when we can without reducing basic services. I mean, this is the challenge we talk about every year at this time.
Is there an economic plan that comes with the port? Is that something that's been discussed or?
Well, there is an economic plan for the port to justify expanding the port. And I'll try to get that for you. I'll have to ask Joy to get it over to me.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Johnson.
Again, it was handy to see the minutes from September 25th, and I saw Councilmember Pascoya's comment during that time was asking about basketball courts, outside basketball courts, and I know that right now in the middle of winter, we don't really think about that too often, but come June or July when they're not there, because we didn't plan for them, and then we're putting off another season, I'll bring up Councilman Pascoya's question about where we are with basketball courts for this next summer.
We want to get Stedman Park reopened and level that park, that court. Right now, it looks like because of the settlement. So I've been talking to John Belize about that. The hospital has offered $100,000 for a concrete basketball court. And I've asked Mr. Belize to see, is that going to be enough money to build a concrete basketball court? And it was going to be put up at the rec center as we continue to, try to focus our recreational activities up there.
Very good. And the other comment I had is thank you, Nikki, for mentioning your staff. I think the comments were made at the previous meeting, a couple of meetings, where was a concern, and I'm glad that you had the latitude to hire your staff as a department head. I think the concern was whether we were filling positions, because we had quite a few positions to fill within City Hall, and with the city manager acting as the HR director, because we didn't have an HR director. I guess pressure was kind of being put on the city manager to try to fill those positions. But with that said, it sounded like tonight that we are starting to fill those positions with an HR manager being hired, and also it's good to hear that city clerks are being interviewed, and that's good news that we can fill those positions.
Well, and I want to not mind taking a little credit. This is being done with the current city HR manager who you're looking at. And I will say what I have learned over the years, just filling a position because you need a body is not always the best. And actually, the candidates that we're interviewing for city clerk are heads above other candidates we have interviewed, because at this time, they are available. They weren't available 2 months ago, 3 months ago. So hopefully, and two of them are local. And they seem to have, one has the qualification. We're interviewing 2 people this week. And of course, Cynthia will be starting tomorrow, so she can help take the lead in that.
And also thank you for re-advertising the assistant city manager for economic development position. I think that was much needed, and I'm glad that we're looking to go down that path. That's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
And Councilmember Henderson.
Oh, I thought you forgot me.
I did.
Because I get twice the time normally, right?
I figured save the best for last.
Big shoes to fill there. I was looking at all my comments, and it's all about thanking people for starting to fill some of these positions. I was going to start out by thanking Nikki for kind of thinking about putting a hold on the hiring in spite of, maybe pressure to fill those positions as is, to kind of think about what the needs of the finance department is. Is there a better way to do it? Retraining, cross-training, shuffling responsibilities, and all of that. So that's good. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. And if that's going to save in any total staffing positions, by becoming more efficient or things like that, that's all the better. And I do appreciate, as Mark does, the mid-year report, and it gives us a sense of where we're at from a financial perspective. And yes, Glenn deserves credit as the HR manager for filling some of these positions. Some of them are really critical. The HR position, the police chief position. Sounds like we're, have some good potential in the city clerk position. And those are 3 really key ones. So that's good. And I want to thank John for filling some of the advisory board. I think in the last meeting, we filled 2. And that's good. I'm glad. But I do want to kind of comment on what Cameron said. And I think his point is well taken in terms of we've seen some extended vacancies for a period of time on these advisory boards. And I think that that's not a good thing because, according to some commission members, it keeps them from, keeping a quorum, getting things accomplished, whatever. And I think that, and I think Cameron's suggestion is worth considering. And it's not to take away from the mayor's ability to appoint advisory board members, because that's clearly stated in the ordinance. But is it worthwhile to consider something that if a vacancy lasts for a period of time, say 60 days, is it appropriate or is it reasonable to then allow the council to appoint somebody to these advisory board commissions? Again, not taking away the mayor's ability to appoint those, but if these vacancies last an extended period of time, does it make sense for the council member to have that capability? Now, I suspect, John, you may have some concerns about that. But is that a reasonable accommodation to make to keep these boards, filled? Doesn't mean the council would have to appoint anybody. It just would give them the ability to do that if a vacancy lasted for, say, longer than 60 days. So I just want to kind of throw that out. Cameron's, what he mentioned earlier. I think it's a suggestion worth considering. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Next. Is that it? Okay. Just a couple of things. Want to acknowledge and thank Rose Real Gray for her time in the EMS department. She departed for Fairbanks and other things here this weekend, but that often it was Rose plus one, if she could get them, that was out there with some of the folks that I could say owe their lives to her. And so I really appreciate everything that Rose did for the community. And then I also just wanted to mention that Glenn Cliff and I were on a call with the potential new owners of the Nugget Inn to see what we could do to assist them with some of their processes and give them a little guidance on how to ensure that they were not getting at all snagged up with anything at the city. And the owners were very complimentary of both Cliff and Glenn for their efforts to assist them in this process. And they're still hopeful that they can open by Iditarod. I think that's it. So with that, ask for motion from the council to recess into executive session on the NSHC ambulance contract.
I'd like to make a motion to enter into executive session to discuss contractual and personal matters, immediate knowledge, which could have adverse effects on the city of Nome finances, and specifically to discuss the ambulance contract with the hospital.
That was a long 10 minutes.
Okay, that was a long motion that
I'm just afraid to second that.
Not a recall motion.
Oh.
He would be proud. I'll second it.
Kindly read the motion back. Roll call, please.
Discussion real quick.
What's that?
Discussion real quick.
Yes.
Did you want me in the executive session?
Well, it's up to you to decide. If you're asking my opinion, I would say it's probably appropriate for you to not participate.
Okay. And I only asked that because, I declared that conflict
Right.
earlier in previous meetings on the ambulance services.
Based on your prior, that you have sufficient influence in the, however you worded it there on these things, this does have to do with contract and negotiations, so
Okay.
we would continue that.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
What am I voting on?
Executive session.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
I guess I'm not mentioning Councilmember Pacero.
You can still call in for this, yeah.
yes.
Sorry. Councilmember Topcott
EE.
and Councilmember Miller.
The time is 7:22. The council stand in recess. There will be no action following the executive session.
Sam.
And we will come back into session to.
I'm going to transfer you to our 65999 number.
I think that's, no, that's village safe water. That's what it says in the packet, is that's village safe water.
Yeah.
This is totally different.
No action. No action.
Yeah.
Yeah, I asked.
Village safe water.
Thank you.
Alaska.
Yeah, that's what I was told. Instead of like, I asked him.
Sanitation.
So I have to give him the
Totally
right.
different, yeah, it's totally different.
So
You're going to be here.
Got a project.
Now, the authorization code.
Well, from my perspective, it's a great thing. It's so nice because I'm totally spacing out. All of a sudden it pops and it's like, hey, there we go.
Yeah, yeah, it is a
All
lot.
right, Sam, the room is clear
Even though
now.
it took you a lot more work, I'm sure.
They're gonna have to count the
Customer friendly.
there are in the town, how many of those are actually native.
You just need to do it sooner.
Yeah, you can just hand it.
Whatever.
I'll probably contact you
Okay.
later this week.
Yeah.
So you should.
Well, I don't know. I am not familiar.
Yeah, that's where the.
Immediately after.
If you guys are working with the people with ANTHC, they should have that in their systems.
Yeah.
But we just need to get those projects in